to the second episode of Conversations with the Hoff. I'm Steve Hoffman, your resident radical libertarian, and with me in the studio today is my producer and executive director of Liberty Crack Media, Trip Detmering.
Hey, everybody, and this is great. Got great response last week with your first initial episode, so I can't wait for us to dive in, and we're going to continue on exploring Obamacare, I understand.
Solutions to Obamacare.
All right. Well, how are you going to start us off today, Steve?
Okay. Well, believe it or not, I'm going to start off with a story. It's the story of the scorpion and the frog. It's an old Russian tale, and believe it or not, it does have relevance to what I'm going to talk about later on in the program. So there's a scorpion sitting on the side of a river. The scorpion's looking across the river and wants to get over there. He wants to see what's on the other side. But guess what? Scorpions can't swim. So next to the scorpion, not too far away, is a frog. Scorpion goes over to the frog and says to Mr. Frog, "Would you do me a favor? Let me hop on your back and you swim across the river so I can see what's on the other side." Well, the frog is no fool. The frog looks at the scorpion and says, "You're a scorpion. You're going to sting me. I'm going to die. We're both going to drown. And you're not going to get to the other side of the river." And the scorpion looks at the frog and says, "Oh, come on. Why would I do that? I want to get to the other side of the river, and I don't want to die. I'm definitely not going to sting you, because then you would sink to the bottom and I would die. I'm not going to do that." The frog thinks that's a pretty reasonable explanation and agrees to let the scorpion jump on its back. So the frog starts swimming across the river, and sure enough, halfway across the river, the scorpion stings the frog. The frog looks at the scorpion and says in its dying breath, "Why did you do that? Now we're both going to die." And the scorpion says, "Well, I couldn't help myself. It's my nature." That's the story of the scorpion and the frog. So I'll get into the relevance a little later on, but I promised you at the last episode that I would talk about some of the solutions to the nightmare that is Obamacare. And these are free market solutions. As a matter of fact, these aren't new. I'm not making these up. You can go to Cato Institute website and read all about these free market solutions. You can go to Reason Magazine or the Reason Foundation. They're all outlined there. I'm a member of the Mises Institute, the Mises Caucus. You can go there and read all about these solutions. Also, Senator Rand Paul has been on the news a lot lately talking about free market solutions to Obamacare. So I'll quickly go over the solutions. They're all based on core libertarian philosophy. Number one, libertarians believe in limited government.
Amen.
And yes, there are some libertarians that kind of go overboard there and believe in no government or anarchy. But I'm not one of those.
More of a minarchist.
Yeah, minimalist. There you go.
Minarchist, yeah.
Also, we believe in consumer choice. You should have a choice in every product and service that you seek. There shouldn't be restrictions. Well, there shouldn't be government restrictions. And finally, we believe in the concepts of competition and innovation. So how do these apply to solutions for Obamacare? Well, I'm going to go over real quickly 9 solutions. I'm not going to go into great detail because my producer has warned me that I can be a bit pedantic and extremely boring, which is not conducive to a successful podcast. But hey, that's my nature.
What he's trying to say is, if you want to go deep diving into any one of these 9, you can do that on your own, and we'll have links and support for you.
Yes, Tripp, you're right. Okay, number 1. The number 1 free market solution to Obamacare is to drive a stake in that monster, drive a stake through his heart, repeal the Affordable Care Act. Get rid of it. Get rid of it and all its mandates and subsidies. The second solution, expand interstate insurance competition. In other words, let the insurance companies sell their product across state lines. The third solution, now some could argue whether or not this is really a free market solution, but it's expand and strengthen the health savings accounts.
Amen. Yeah.
So this is really a way of saving money on your taxes. So let me warn you, as a libertarian, you know what we think of taxes. Taxation is theft. Period. End of discussion. But it is a free market solution to Obamacare. Number 4, provide direct primary care. In other words, you should have the ability to pay your doctor directly without going through an insurance company. If I want to buy a new car, I go to a car dealer, I give him a bunch of money, he gives me a car. I don't have to go through some third party to buy that car.
Now, there are, and not to interrupt you, but there are. It seems like it's being more and more popular, these concierge providers of doctors that are out there. You pay a membership to be in their care, and they almost have their own HSA, or a savings account that you use. You've got a number of visits that you can have, and so on. So, and if I think there are ways to look those up, and if we find them, we'll share them with our listeners.
That's very interesting, Tripp. But let me just say one thing. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Every time you put somebody between you and the provider, that person wants to get a share of the money. They're not doing it for free. They want a little bit of money. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know what it applies to the concierge services, but yeah.
Oh, okay, so they're just providing advice on how to buy a car?
No, they're the car dealer themselves. There are different doctors that are concierge services.
I get it.
And instead of taking insurances, they have you join their healthcare group.
You have them on retainer.
Exactly, just like an
Okay,
attorney.
that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Settle down, boy.
Right. I get a little excited. Okay, number 5 is price transparency. Now, let's say that the Hoff wants a new high-definition TV. Well, I'm basically lazy. I'm going to send my wife out to shop. She loves shopping. She's going to go to 5 or 6 different stores and look at the prices of all these different high-definition TVs out there. She's going to look at the size, the capabilities, whether or not they're internet-friendly, all kind of things. And she's going to come back and tell me which TV to buy based on the value and the cost and the capabilities of that TV. You should have the same freedom when it comes to health care.
Amen. Yeah.
You should know exactly what it costs. Okay, number 6. There's too many mandates. There's too much regulation in the controlling the providers and the facilities. There's a thing called Certificate of Need, which is a scam by the hospital associations to limit the ability of a new hospital to be built in your area. So one of the things we need to do is eliminate any barriers to competition and definitely eliminate that thing called the Certificate of Need. Number 7, my wife has some experience in this, and she worked for a pharmaceutical company. We need to liberalize the drug market. For a pharmaceutical company to develop a new drug can cost them millions of dollars. They have to go through extensive testing and paperwork and submit it to the FDA or whatever, and it can be approved or disapproved. Let's hope it's not disapproved, because then it all goes back to the pharmaceutical company again, and they got to go through it all again. And it's going to cost them another $1 million to try to get their new drug approved. So we need to make it much easier for new drugs to get to the market with all the bureaucratic paperwork. That's called drug market liberalization. Okay, the eighth one has to do with catastrophic coverage focus. Let's say you're a 24-year-old. You're perfectly healthy. But guess what? You're going to pay the same Obamacare premium that a 72-year-old is going to pay. That 72-year-old has got all kind of afflictions. He goes to the doctor every week. His expenses are enormous. You're 24 years old. You're perfectly healthy. You don't need that same amount of coverage. So your premium should be tailored to your medical condition and your age. As a 24-year-old, you should be able to go out there and buy the bare minimum of health insurance because you don't need a lot. Now, if you're smart, you're going to realize, well, if shit happens. I could get really sick. I could get in an accident. So I need something to cover that eventuality. And that's called catastrophic insurance. So you may want to buy catastrophic insurance that's got a high deductible. Let's say $1,000 deductible. But overall, you're going to be paying a lot less than you are now. So we need to focus on the individual. What's the individual need for insurance? And number 9, right now, most of the people that have health insurance have it through their employer. We need to decouple health insurance from employment.
Amen. Yep.
So you got a good coverage. You've been working for this company for 10 years. You got fantastic health insurance. You've got these pre-existing conditions that it covers. And all of a sudden, you get called into the boss's office and he says, we don't need your services anymore. You've been fired. Now you got to go look for another job. If you're lucky enough to find another job, yeah, they'll have health insurance for you. But about that pre-existing condition that you got, so sad, too bad, you're no longer covered for that pre-existing condition. So we need to have health care bought by the individual. It should be individual health care policies. So that would increase competition in the marketplace, and it would allow you to continue to have health care benefits by buying individually focused owned health insurance. So those are the free market solutions to increasing the quality and the availability of medical care.
Excellent. 1 through 9.
Yeah, and it'll lower costs. And more importantly, if we went to the free market solutions for the American public, it would be a very, very good start to weaning us off our reliance on big government solutions to our nation's problems. Now for the bad news. Yes, the free market solutions would work, but is our nation currently capable of instituting free market solutions? And I'm going to give you 2 examples right now on why I think that that's not going to happen.
Oh, that's not good news.
Yeah, but we have other episodes where I can talk about how to turn it around.
Okay, good.
So President Trump, when he was out there campaigning, he was on the stump. He was making all kind of promises on education. Americans hate the Department of Education. They hate the government-controlled education. Most Americans believe that schools are failing. They're doing a good job of indoctrinating our kids to be good socialists, but they're not teaching the kids the skills such as basic reading and writing and arithmetic, stuff like that. So Donald Trump, what did he promise he would do? He would abolish the Department of Education. He would return control of education to the states or to families. And he would cut the federal bureaucracy. Well, that's what he promised. But what did he actually do? The Secretary of Education was on TV lately, and she's been in the news. And yes, she's going to dismantle the Department of Education. There will no longer be a Department of Education. Yay, rah. Whoops, hold on. But all of those programs that the Department of Education monitors and manages, guess what? They're going to be transferred to other departments within the federal government. Yes, you heard me right. He's not doing away with government control of education. The programs are going to be transferred to the State Department, to the Interior Department, to the Health and Human Services Department.
Well, not to be a defender of Trump, because, I'm not his greatest fan, but is he kind of, what do I want to say, constrained or handcuffed by the fact that some of those programs that you mentioned cannot be eliminated by him because it was passed by Congress?
Yes, very good, very intuitive. You're right. Even though the Department of Education was established by Jimmy Carter back in the early 70s, it was actually put in the law by Congress. And in order for him to do away with all of those programs, it would have to come from Congress.
Oh, okay. All right.
But my purpose is to show that my friends say, well, Donald Trump is playing 4D chess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've heard that story before.
Yeah, that's BS. What he's playing is 3-card Monte. Hey, where's the government program? Hey, can you find it? Is it in this hand? Is it under this cup? That's 3-card Monte. That's not 4-card. That's not 4D chess.
And I agree with you. He is doing a disservice to the American public by misrepresenting, like you were saying, misrepresenting what he's doing by saying he's eliminating. When he's not eliminating, he is diminishing, but he's not eliminating. And I hope our listeners get that. Now, we're not saying we're never Trumpers and things like that. We could care less about the man. What we're saying is that we are looking at what is actually affecting you and I, the American public, as individuals.
Where can we get the most bang for our buck?
Yep.
And that's the free market. As a matter of fact, the government knows that the public is going to be pissed when they find out what is really happening with health care. And that's why senior officials within our government are now required to sign a non-disclosure agreement where they cannot discuss what's actually happening with health care. They're cutting off transparency.
Yeah. That's
okay.
That's a big no-no for us.
So let's talk about what President Trump promised to do with the Affordable Care Act, how he is going to prove that. Number one, he promised to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But he also promised to lower premiums and cut out-of-pocket costs. He also promised to protect pre-existing conditions. And one of the other promises that he made, but people didn't really listen too hard, he said he would allow the states to design their own health care systems. He would also end Biden-era subsidies and promote alternatives to Obamacare. But what actually happened? Well, what actually happened was more government solutions. Yes, there will be direct payments to the consumers. He's going to get rid of a lot of the subsidies, but there's still going to be direct payments from the government to you. He's going to increase access to the health savings accounts. We've already talked about that. Yes, that's a good thing, but it's still a government program. He's also going to temporarily extend the subsidies. Remember, his main thing was he was going to get rid of these subsidies to the insurance companies, which really cost our taxpayers billions of dollars. We're talking $11 billion in like last year. But because of the shutdown, the government shutdown, he had to really cave and say, well, no, we can't cut these subsidies. In order to get government up and running again, we're going to temporarily approve an extension to the subsidies. And the Republicans, they're going to change the legislation to make sure that abortions are not paid for by government money. So he is making some changes, and but here again, they're changes to the government policies, to the government programs. Thus, the Republicans and Donald Trump together really have no plan in place to return the control and practice of medicine back to the states.
Or to the free market.
Or to the free market. Mm-hmm. Yes, once again, you've been stung by the scorpion. Don't be fooled. The nature of the Republican Party, just like the Democrat Party, is not to support the free market, but for more and more support for big government. So that's pretty depressing. In closing, our country is obviously heading down the road to socialism. If the Democrats were in control, we'd be a socialist state by now. But the Republicans are in control, and what's happening now is that we're on the slow road. We're taking the slow path to socialism. So how can we reverse direction? How can we return our country to one that embraces limited government?
Yeah, Steve, how?
That's a good question. How can we get our representatives and senators to actually read Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution?
Hey!
And get them to stop the massive government overreach? And how can we return to actually being the land of the free? Now, Tripp, to answer your question, I'm going to tell you how to do that. The Hoff is definitely going to tell you how to do that.
The Hoff is huffing.
But you're going to have to listen to future episodes of Conversations with the Hoff to learn how to do that.
Fantastic. And you know what? People, not only can they listen on their favorite podcasting platform to your marvelous words, but they can actually come down, and while we're doing our rough taping live here in Surfside, they can actually come down, have a cup of coffee, listen to us stutter, yell at each other, laugh, have our mistakes, the whole 9 yards. They can come down, have a cup of coffee and do that, and then maybe have a chat with us.
Talking freedom while the radio hums. Less red tape and more open doors. The founder's vision we're fighting for. Hands off my dreams, hands off my pain. build and the hearts that stand. One nation under God's own grace, with room to rise and space to chase.